Brother snorted. Your online friends aren't real. Then begged those fake people to share his failing GoFundMe. He said it without any irony at all, sitting on my sagging IKEA couch with his elbows on his knees, refreshing the page like the number was going to magically change if he glared hard enough. It's literally stuck, he muttered, jabbing the trackpad. $240 in 5 days. That's pathetic. Come on, can't you just post it? You said you've got, 3,000 people in that Discord thing? If everyone gave like $5, I'd be sorted. He turned the laptop slightly so I could see the campaign, his face in a hospital bed, bandage peeking out from under the gown, text underneath in a big dramatic font, "Help Jake get back on his feet after his accident." The progress bar glowed accusingly at 3%. My own reflection hovered over it in the black border of the screen, eyebrows already pulled together, jaw tight. There was a hot, prickly feeling behind my eyes, and my heart was doing that fluttery staccato it does when I'm about to either cry or say something I can't take back. You remember what you just said? I asked, hearing how flat my voice sounded. My hands were locked around my mug of tea, fingers damp from the condensation. Luna, my cat, named after exactly who you think, jumped up onto the arm of the couch between us, eyeing my brother like he was a stray dog that had wandered in. Jake barely glanced at her. He had that restless, cornered energy he gets when he's scared and doesn't want to admit it, bouncing his leg, chewing his thumbnail, nostrils flaring a bit with every exhale. The GoFundMe page flickered again as he refreshed it. No new donations. The last one was from Mom and Dad Redheart, for $100 and a comment that said, "We're so proud of you, you'll get through this X. Proud of him for being hit by a car, I guess." What? He said, finally looking up at me, eyebrows raised like I'd interrupted something important. To rewind a bit, I'm 27F, Jake is 30M, and we've basically been running the same argument in different fonts for about a decade. Him insisting that anything that happens on the internet is inherently less real, less serious, less meaningful than what happens in the real world. And me quietly building my actual support system in group chats and Discord servers he thinks are glorified video games. When we were kids, that just meant him making fun of me for having more MSN conversations than parties. As adults, it's become something harder to shrug off, him rolling his eyes when I talk about my online friends, mocking my D&D group, calling my mutual aid contributions, sending your rent money to random avatars. And then last month, Jake got hit by a car. It happened on a Wednesday afternoon, because of course life-changing phone calls only come in the middle of workdays when you're elbow deep in something boring. I was in my tiny open plan office, trying to coax a broken Excel spreadsheet into cooperating, when my phone buzzed on the desk. The caller ID said Mum, with the little pink heart I'd stupidly added during some sentimental moment. "Hey, I'm at work, can I started, but her voice steamrolled right over mine, high and thin. "Liv, it's your brother, he's been in an accident." For a second, everything went weirdly silent. Not in that dramatic movie way where the world slows down and the camera zooms in. More like when your headphones lose connection and you realize how loud the office is. The clacking of keyboards, the sputter of the coffee machine, someone laughing at something in the next pod, it all rushed in while my brain scrambled to catch up. "What kind of accident?" I asked, already grabbing my bag. "Car." He was crossing near the servo, and some idiot on their phone. She sucked in a breath, the sound wet at the edges. "He's at St. Vincent's. They said he's stable, but the leg." Her voice cracked on the last word. "I'm coming," I said. "Text me the ward." I told my manager something about a family emergency, didn't wait for her answer and bolted. On the bus, my hands shook so badly I kept dropping my Opal card. I texted my best friend in what we call the Chaos Chat. A Discord group of 8 people scattered across 3 countries who have seen me ugly cry on camera more times than my own family. Me, hey JSYK, my brother's been hit by a car, going to hospital now. B what? Joe, holy shit, are you okay? Me, ick yet. Just, Can you guys stay on your phones? By the time I got to the hospital, I had 3 missed calls from B and a DM from Joe that just said, breathing with you. In. Out. With a little gif of a cartoon fox inhaling and exhaling. Tiny, silly things. Real things. Jake looked smaller in the hospital bed. That sounds weird, but it's the only way I can explain it. He's always been big, in my memory, not tall necessarily, but present, loud laugh, broad shoulders, long legs that carried him confidently through every party, every sports field, every room I felt awkward in. Seeing him limp and pale with his leg immobilized and a massive purple bruise blossoming under his eye was disorienting. "Hey, Squirt," he said when I walked in, forcing a grin. His voice was hoarse, probably from whatever they'd done in surgery. There was an 4-line taped to the back of his hand. I stood just inside the doorway for a second, clutching the strap of my bag, and then buckled and sat in the chair like someone had cut my strings. "You're an idiot," I said, which is sibling 4. I was so scared. He laughed, then winced. "Tell the driver that," he said. "Apparently zipping across on an orange man is a crime now." The doctors said things like multiple fractures, external fixator, and long recovery. They also said physio, and time off work, and crutches for at least 12 weeks. Jake works in a warehouse, the kind of job that expects bodies to move boxes, not sit at desks. There's no sick leave stash for casual employees, just a pile of bills and a boss who's suddenly very sorry but doesn't know how long I can hold your position open, mate. The first week, everything was covered by shock and morphine. The second week, the money panic set in. I watched it happen mostly through group texts and visits where Jake pretended he wasn't thinking about it. My parents did their usual thing of swinging between, "It'll all work out," and, "Oh my God, we're all going to be homeless," depending on who they'd spoken to last. They'd never been particularly great with money. Savings, in our house, was something you did hypothetically. By week 3, Jake was home at our parents' place, leg braced, cane within arm's reach. He'd burned through his small savings and the token amount of income protection his union provided. The rent for his share house still needed to be paid. His car, which had somehow come out of the accident less injured than he was, needed rego. Centrelink was being Centrelink. "I'll be fine," he insisted at first, jaw set. "It's just a few months. I'll dip into my credit card, maybe sell the Xbox." 2 days after that conversation, my mum called me at 10 p.m. I was in bed, laptop balanced on my knees, in the middle of a game of Stardew with 2 of my online friends. "Can you pause your little game thing?" she asked as soon as I answered. I muted my mic, told the others BRB, and sighed. "What's up?" "It's your brother," she said. He's had a bit of a meltdown. He won't tell me exactly how bad it is, but I saw the overdue notices on the table. I think he's in deeper than he's letting on. I'm not exactly flush myself," I said, sitting up. "My savings aren't huge." "I know, love," she said quickly. "We're not asking you to pay his rent. We just..." He mentioned those online groups you're in. The ones you always say are like family. She put a weird emphasis on that last part. "Do you think they'd maybe share his fundraiser when he sets it up? Or donate a bit?" I went cold. "What fundraiser?" "The one he's doing on that Go something," she said. "Go fund something." He said lots of people do it. "We're putting some in, obviously, but we're stretched with the mortgage and your dad's hours being cut. Your uncle might chip in a bit, but you know what he's like. Anyway, your brother said something about your online people being suckers for this stuff. His words, not mine." "Of course they were his words." "I'll talk to him," I said, jaw clenching. "The thing is, my online people have already saved my ass more times than my blood relatives." When I was 21 and my student loan payment bounced, it was B who PayPal'd me grocery money unprompted because she noticed I hadn't posted any food pics in a week. When my ex dumped me 2 weeks before a lease ended, leaving me to scramble for a new place, it was Jove who stayed on video call with me until 3 a.m. while I packed, narrating every stupid mug I wrapped in newspaper so I didn't dissolve into a puddle. When my depression was at its worst and I couldn't see a way out, it was a messy, chaotic fundraiser they all put together in 12 hours, selling art, commissioning silly fanfic, doing sleep-deprived song requests on Twitch, that paid for my first 6 sessions with a decent therapist. Jake had opinions about that. "You're letting strangers pay you to cry," he'd said then, scrolling through the fundraiser page on his phone. "It's weird, Liv. It's basically camgirling for sad people." "They're my friends," I'd said. "And I didn't ask them to. They offered." "Still," he'd scoffed. "Charity begins at home. Except apparently ours doesn't, because Mom and Dad can't afford a new washing machine, but your internet nerds can throw you a pity party." That was the year I started spending Christmas with my best friend's family instead. So when he showed up at my apartment now, laptop open to a shiny GoFundMe page, and said, "Can you ask your internet mates to help me out?" my entire nervous system did a full-body cringe. I remember what I said. He added finally, defensiveness snapping into place as he replayed his own words. "He always does that, pretends he doesn't recall saying something hurtful until you look at him long enough. About your online friends. But that was different." "How?" I asked. He ran a hand through his hair, wincing when he jostled his stiff shoulder. "You weren't, like, dying," he said. "You were just sad. This is actual physical stuff. I can't work. I'm trying to pay rent on a place I'm not even living in because I'm stuck at Mom and Dad's. And the hospital bills, and physio, and..." His voice wobbled. He swallowed hard. "This is serious, Liv." Being depressed enough to consider not existing apparently hadn't been serious. "Cool." I stared at the fundraiser page. The main text read, "Hi, I'm Jake. 3 weeks ago I was hit by a car while crossing the road and have been left with multiple fractures in my leg and a long road to recovery. I've always been a hard worker, but I'm unable to work for the next few months while I heal. I'm humbly asking for help to cover my rent, medical expenses, and basic living costs while I get back on my feet. Pun not intended, lol. It wasn't the worst GoFundMe I'd ever seen. It wasn't dishonest exactly, but it was curated. No mention of the 3 credit cards he'd maxed on tech gear and weekend trips before the accident. No mention of the fact that his share house landlord was his mate and had already given him an extra month before threatening anything. The amount, $8,000, was ambitious, bordering on delusional, given our social circle. "I can share it," I said slowly, "in the channels where that's allowed. But I'm not going to pressure anyone. And I'm not comfortable asking people who've already done so much for me to fix the hole you're in because Centrelink sucks and capitalism is a bastard." "So you won't ask?" he said. "I said I will share it," I repeated. "That's asking. But with context. And boundaries." He slumped back. "Context?" he scoffed. "What context? Hey guys, my brother's a bit of a dick about you, but can you give him money anyway? If the shoe fits," I said. We sat there in brittle silence for a moment, the only sound the faint hum of my ancient fridge and the occasional street noise filtering up from the road. Luna jumped down, bored with our tension, and pawed at her scratching post in the corner. Jake let out a breath. "Look," he said a little softer. "I know I've been an asshole about your online shit. I just didn't get it. I still don't fully get it. It feels fake to me. But I'm not in a position to be picky about what counts as real right now. I need help. I figured, you're people like you. They trust you. Maybe they'd want to help your family." There was something raw in that last sentence that made my anger deflate a bit. My family. As dysfunctional as we are, I'm not immune to that hook. "I'll post it," I said finally. "I'll frame it honestly. I won't guilt-trip anyone. And you need to understand that people might not respond, Because everyone's broke and burned out and constantly bombarded with crises. Yeah, he said. Got it. He didn't, but I let it go. After he left, with a promise, thanks sis, you're a lifesaver, and a limp that made my stomach twist again, I opened my laptop and stared at the Discord server list. The little green dots lit up next to names: B UK, Joe US, Sammy, QLD, Felix, Germany. The chaos chat was mid-conversation about some K-drama none of us had time for but all insisted we'd watch. B. Do I impulsively cut my hair again? Y/N. Sammy, always yes. Joe, do it you coward. I clicked into the text box and just hovered. The cursor blinked at me like it knew more than I did. Typing out, "Hey guys, can you give my brother money?" Felt gross. Transactional. Entitled. Especially given the history. Especially given that half of them knew exactly what he'd said about them in the past. When we'd done my own fundraiser, they'd insisted on it. I'd protested, embarrassed, and B had literally said, "Shut up and let us love you, dingus." It had been about care, not obligation. This felt different. I started and deleted a message 3 times before finally just dumping it out. Me, okay, serious thing for a sec if people have spoons to read. B eyes. Joe, always here. Sammy, hit us. I told them about the accident, which they knew in vague terms. I told them about the GoFundMe. I told them, bluntly, that Jake had said shitty things about internet weirdos in the past and that I did not expect anyone to donate given that context, but that if they wanted to share it in their wider circles it might help. Me, I'm not asking you to bail him out. I just don't want to be the only avenue he didn't even try because of his pride. B. Hey, thank you for trusting us. W. This. B. Also, your brother is a prat, but a prat who is currently in pain, so I can hold both those things. Joe link? Sammy same. No promises. Read $BC rent is eating my soul, but I can def share. I pasted the link, hand actually shaking a little, which felt ridiculous given that it's just text on a screen and not a bomb. What happened next wasn't some inspirational movie montage where donations flood into triumphant music. It was small. Human. Real. Within the first hour, there were 3 donations with names I recognized from our server. BL, $20, for being Olivia's annoying older brother. Get well soon, dude. Anonymous, $10, no one deserves to get hit by a car. Heal up. Chaos Crew, Collective, $50, we're not real but our money is. Heartsuit. I laughed out loud at that last one, a sharp little bark of sound that startled Luna off the couch. I screenshotted it and stared at the picture for a long time, thumb tracing the pixelated heart on my phone screen. I debated sending the screenshot to Jake, then decided against it. Let the numbers speak for themselves. Over the next few days, the total crept up. Not dramatically, but steadily. $20 here, $15 there, the occasional gas-worthy $100 from someone with a note like, "My brother broke his leg last year, it sucked, hang in there." I recognized maybe a quarter of the names as people from various corners of my online life. The rest were friends of friends, strangers, people whose only connection to my brother was, "This person is important to someone important to me." Jake texted me on day 3. "Jake, did you post it?" Me, yeah? Jake thought so. It jumped a bit yesterday. He didn't say thank you? Typical. My parents were weird about it. Mom oscillated between pride. "Look at all these people who care about your brother." And suspicion. "You don't think any of these are scams, do you?" Dad wanted to know if they could claim any of it on tax. "You should send that link to your cousins," Mom said on the phone one night. I did. I lied. I hadn't, partly because our cousins are dealing with their own messes, partly because I was tired of being the designated beggar. The thing that really cracked me wasn't the money, though. It was a comment from someone called Raven, who I only knew vaguely from a fandom server. As someone whose family told me my online nonsense would never amount to anything, I just want to say, I see you, Olivia. Most of us are here because you've shown up for people again and again. Wishing your brother a safe recovery. I read it 3 times. My throat felt thick. I hadn't realized how badly I needed someone to validate that what I do in these spaces. Listening, supporting, signal boosting, just being there at 2 a.m. when someone on the other side of the world is having a panic attack, counted as showing up. When the GoFundMe hit $1,200, Jake called me. Your internet freaks are generous, he said, half joking, half all. They're not freaks, I said automatically. Whatever. A lot of the comments mention you. I could hear him clicking. Olivia helped me out when, Olivia was there for me when, how many people are you talking to on there, exactly? Enough, I said. Why? It's just weird, he said. Like I never knew you had this whole network. There's people in here from America. Someone is that Norway? They're sending me money because you listened to them cry about a breakup? Pretty much, I said. There was a pause on the line. I didn't think. I mean, I knew you were always on your laptop, but I thought you were just, like, scrolling memes and watching anime. I do scroll memes and watch anime, I said, and also talk people through job interviews and panic attacks and housing crises. And they do the same for me. He made a small noise. I didn't get it, he said. I still don't fully. But thanks for sharing it. It wasn't a full apology, but it was something. Of course, not everyone in my life was supportive of me sharing it at all. My friend Lara, who I know offline from uni but who also lurks in some of my online spaces, messaged me privately. Lara, hey, are you okay with this? Me, with what? Lara, using your community for your brother, I mean. He's been kind of an ass about them. Me, yeah? I'm conflicted. Lara. You're allowed to be. She was right. I was conflicted. Every time I saw the total go up, I felt 2 things at once. Relief that Jake would be able to breathe a little easier, and a hot, petty voice in my head hissing, remember when he called you pathetic for accepting help like this? The petty voice got louder when Jake started talking about the GoFundMe like he'd pulled it off through sheer charm. We might actually hit $3,000, he said at dinner one night at our parents' place, scrolling through his phone. Not bad, hey? People have been really good about sharing. I knew it would pick up. I stabbed my broccoli. Who shared it? I asked. Oh, you know, mates from footy, some people from work, your online crew. He said the last bit like it was a band name. Couple of randos too. It's going around. Dad chuckled. See? The internet isn't all bad, he said like he'd invented the concept. Mom flicked her eyes toward me. Well, your sister does spend enough time on there, she said. I set my fork down a little too carefully. My online crew aren't just a random resource you can tap whenever you like, I said. They're people. Friends. And most of the traction on your fundraiser is because they shared it beyond their immediate circles. Jake looked up, slightly annoyed. I said thank you, he said. To you? I can't exactly send all of them flowers. You could reply to some of the comments, I said. Or even just stop calling them fake. He shifted in his chair. I was joking when I said that, he said. No, you weren't, I said. You've been saying variations of your internet friends aren't real since I was 15. You hid the modem once for a week because you were mad I didn't come to your party. He smirked. You were being a shut-in, he said. I stand by that prank. It wasn't a prank, I said, voice rising. I missed a scheduled call with a friend whose dad was in the ICU because of that prank. You don't know because you don't bother to ask what I'm actually doing on there. You just assume it's all bullshit. The table went quiet. Mom's eyes darted between us. Dad cleared his throat. All right, he said. Let's not argue. We're all under stress. I pushed my chair back. I'm not arguing, I said. I'm just tired of being told my life is less real because it doesn't look like yours. I went outside and sat on the back steps, the cold night air like a slap. My phone buzzed a second later. "B, you okay?" You went quiet. Me, family dinner. Jake being Jake. B, the walking embodiment of a YouTube comments section. Me, lol. Me, I'm so grateful to you guys. I'm also so angry that I need you like this because my own brother can't get over himself. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then came back. B, both things can be true. B, if it helps, we're not doing this for him. We're doing it for you. That made me cry, of course. In the end, the GoFundMe didn't hit $8,000. It crept up to $3,400 and stalled. Jake posted a big, thank you update, which I helped him write so it didn't sound like a football club email. He mentioned friends and family from all walks of life, which I translated as my sister's weird internet network, in my head. He was disappointed, but it was enough to cover 2 months' rent and a chunk of the physio fees. Between that, a payment plan with the hospital, and some help from our parents, he made it through the worst patch. You'd think that would be the end of the story, the moment where he learns his lesson, apologizes sincerely, and starts talking about my online friends with respect. Real life is messier than a Disney arc. A couple of weeks after the fundraiser closed, I saw a post on his Facebook. Can't believe the generosity we've experienced these past few weeks. Thank you to everyone who donated and shared, you know who you are. Proof that community still exists in this crazy world. The comments were full of, "You got this, mate!" and flexed bicep emojis from his mates. No mention of me, of course. No mention of the strangers in Norway and Texas and Brisbane who chipped in because they've heard my voice shaking on a Discord call. I was petty enough to screenshot it and send it to B with the caption, "Me. You know who you are. Equals not my sister apparently." She replied with a picture of a dumpster on fire that said, "Family." But the thing is, Jake did change. Not overnight, not completely, but in small, almost imperceptible ways. The next time I mentioned in passing that I had a movie night planned with the gang, he didn't say, "In your little chat room?" He just said, "What are you watching?" and nodded when I said probably something terrible and comforting. When he overheard me on voice call laughing so hard I choked, he poked his head into my room. I was staying at my parents' for the weekend, and said, "Is that B?" Like he actually knew who that was, which was wild. He still doesn't fully get it. He probably never will. He's a pub and park guy. His friendships are built on shared pints and footy games and fixing each other's cars at short notice. Mine are built on shared screens and time zones and typing. "Are you safe?" at 1 a.m. But a few days ago, something happened that made me realize the GoFundMe had lodged itself somewhere deeper in him than he'd admitted. One of the younger guys at his footy club, 19, still living with his parents, working casual shifts at a supermarket, had a house fire. Lost pretty much everything. Someone set up a GoFundMe for him. It popped up on my feed because I'm friends with Jake. Within an hour, Jake had donated $50 with the message, from someone who's been on the other side of one of these. "Hang in there, mate." He also shared it with the caption, "If you can chuck in a bit, or even just share, it makes more of a difference than you think." Out of curiosity, I messaged him. "Me, that was nice of you." Jake, "Yeah well? Help me." "Me, the community?" Jake, don't start unamused face. "Me, I'm just asking." Jake, "Yeah? The online people." Jake, "They came through. I can at least pay it forward." I stared at the screen for a second, then typed, "Me, they'll be glad to hear that." He sent back a thumbs up emoji, which for him is basically a hug. So here I am, writing this on a throwaway account because my brother knows my main and I don't feel like having that conversation. I'm not looking for a medal or for people to dunk on him. I just needed to put this somewhere outside my own head. Because I keep circling back to that stupid line. Brother snorted. Your online friends aren't real. Then begged those fake people to share his failing GoFundMe. I think about it when I'm in voice chat with B at 2 a.m. while she cooks dinner on the other side of the world. I think about it when Joe sends me a postcard from a city I've never been to, with the note, "Come visit when you can, you have a couch here." I think about it when I see the little green dots pop up on my screen and my shoulders drop half an inch because I know I'm not alone, even if my physical house is. If those friends aren't real, then neither is the money that kept my brother out of debt collectors' clutches. Neither is the care package be mailed him, a box of UK biscuits and a scarf that said, "You survived being bodied by a Toyota, you can survive physio." Neither are the memes they made about his GoFundMe hitting 69% and him refusing to let it go higher. For the bit. They're real. They're as real as the guys Jake sinks beers with after footy, as real as the neighbors who dropped off casseroles after his accident, as real as the nurse who winked at me when she saw I'd snuck him in a proper coffee. Different kind of real, sure. Less tangible, more pixelated. But real. I don't know if my parents will ever fully adjust. Mom still sometimes says things like, "It's nice that you have your little community." Like she's talking about a book club. Dad still looks baffled if I mention someone's username like a real name. But when the fire happened at that kid's house and I mentioned I'd sent the link to my servers, Mom didn't say, "Don't bother those people." She just said, "Tell them thank you from us," which I did. And Jake? Last night he came over for dinner and, in a rare moment when we were both in the kitchen without our parents, he cleared his throat and said, "By the way, if you want to invite any of your internet crew, if they're ever in town, like, to a barbecue or whatever, that'd be fine." I blinked. "You want to meet them?" He shrugged, busying himself with the saucepan. "I owe them a beer," he said. "Doesn't feel right, you know? Them helping me and me not even knowing their faces." "You know their names?" I said. "Yeah," he said. "Turns out that's kind of the main part. So no, my online friends aren't real, in the way my brother once understood that word. They're not people I can bump into at Kohl's or hand a Tupperware to over the fence. They're disembodied voices, GIFs, text bubbles on a screen. But they are also the ones who answer when I say, "I'm not okay." They're the ones who showed up for my family when he needed it, even after he'd dismissed them. That's real enough for me.